Good morning, everyone. Ayurveda for kids' immune health is the topic of our session today. We have Vaidhya Aruna Katoch, MD in Ayurveda. She is an educator, researcher, and a practitioner for the last 16 years who has focused her energy on kids' immune health. I am Amita from Nourish Talk, a platform for natural and holistic medicine. I would like to introduce all of you to Vaidhya Aruna Katoch. She is joining me from California. Welcome, Vaidhya Aruna.
Yeah, thank you so much, and good morning, everyone.
Okay.
I just want to give you the background, how I started working with the kids and how all these things come up. In the beginning, when I started doing the practice, I was so afraid of seeing the kids because they are so delicate. And I always used to think, what if something happens to them, and all those things goes over my mind. And I was little concerned. But then with the recommendation, when, small kids coming up and showing me, and when I saw the steroids on their prescription, I was actually shaken. And I was like, how come the 2.5-year-old is getting all these medicines? And when I came to know that, how the things are being mixed and how they are affecting the growth of the kids, so I started working on then. And then my journey started with the kids. And now I love to work with the kids, whether they are infant, toddler, or the grown-ups. And they are totally a new chapter. When you see one kid and the other kid, they are not the same, and their requirements also change. So actually the Ayurveda comes into action because Ayurveda is more about the customization. It is not like, one thing which is given to everyone. It is more of the customized thing. But in case of kids, it is good because, they are in the formation state and we can do something at the journal level. Here, I just want to focus on, when we talk about the immunity, we only talk about the communicable diseases. We talk about the specific diseases because the thing we know about the immunity in terms of kid is the vaccination. But when I'm putting the definition or the meaning direct from the dictionary, it is more about we have to focus on the word immune. And it does not mean that the kids has to be free from the communicable diseases or just specific diseases, but we need to prepare our kids to have completely different zone of freedom where they are not only free from the physical things, but they should be free and living the best potential of their life in terms of disease, in terms of their complete health, their emotional health.
So I know, Dr. Aruna, that you also have a 6-month baby, right? We were talking earlier.
Right.
And yeah, so let's just talk about, a little bit on research and how Ayurveda comes into play, with especially with such newborn babies or 6-month-old babies as well.
Yeah, because the research shows that, there are almost like 1,600 genes which are responsible for the immune responses in the kid. But the study shows that the immunity in case of the newborn is totally depends upon the immunity he get from his mother through the placenta, whereas the response to the other factor is almost very basic and almost you can say zero, because immunity is something which respond to the corresponding factors. And that's the reason, when the kid is born, on the vaccination chart there are certain deadly things which kids needs to be vaccinated so that they should not suffer from that disease. All these researchers shows that at infant level there is hardly any immune responses in the body. There are there because of the breastfeed and the mother's immunity when they are inside the womb. But on the other side, when they come out of the womb, It's all a new environment for them. And their immune system is suppressed when they are inside the mother. And this has been all because this is again a part of God's creation where, it's present, but it's not active because mother and baby both have to live together and they cannot be like, envy to each other. So the immune system is there in the kids, but they are suppressed, and most likely they have the limitations. But as they grow, they start having the different factors from the environment and other factor, and that's how their immunity starts developing. But when we talk about the vaccination, it's more about the specific immunity we are trying to have in the kids by doing the vaccinations.
Okay.
And now when we come to Ayurveda, like it's such a common shloka in Ayurveda from the Charak Samhita, when we say the swastasya swastiraksham and adurasya prashamancha. So here, like they want to focus on that the first priority they talk about in Ayurveda is more keeping up the health of the healthy one. And then they talk about treating the one who is suffering from something. So in the first term, when they say that you have to maintain the health of the healthy person, they are trying to maintain the higher level of the immune system in the body so that the immunity is such a level that the person should not suffer from any disease. And when we talk about the second condition, like to treat or to prevent the diseased person and to make them healthy, again, we are talking directly about the immune system. So Ayurveda has focused the majority of this on creating the immunity, whether it's the infant or the adults. And in Ayurveda, when we talk about the immunity, it's not the straight word written there. In beginning, it was in the Samhitas, it is more, they talk about the bal. The bal is in very different form. It can be the physical body strength, it can be your manobal, it can be the atmabal. These are the terms which are used. And they have categorized this into the three categories. First is Sahaj bal, which is the immunity which is there when the kids are born with, and this they get from their mother, from their family through genes. This is all what is there in the Sahaj bal. Kalash bal is the bal which is derived during the period when, after the birth, the kid is growing and becoming adult. All these factors which come across and the kid derive strength towards that is the one which comes under the Kalaj bal. And then comes the Yuktikrit bal. This is a very, very special category. Here they are talking about like everyone is not the same. So how you can increase the bal in any person, in kids, by introducing different factors at different time to increase their bal. In Ayurveda, we use the word Vyadi Kshamatva. It is the capacity of the body to fight against the pathogen, to any of the other irritant factors in the environment so that they get immunity towards that particular factor. And here I want to say this thing because Ayurveda is a Upveda of Atharva Ved, and Ayurveda has incorporated so many different factors from different Vedas and Granth. And I want to focus here that when we talk about the health in Ayurveda, they specify that it is not only about the physical health, but it is more about our energy level, emotional level, mental level. When we are healthy at all these levels, so then we are said to be healthy. So in Vedanta, in Tritiya Upanishad, to be very specific, they have talked about the three shariras and then how they are further having the 5 different layers. I want to focus on these because in today's topic, we are not only covering the physical body, but I'm also going to talk about the energy body, the emotional body, and the further 2 bodies, because all these are interrelated. If one body is affected, the other body is definitely going to have the effect of that. And in today's world, the emotional body is having so much correlation with the physical body. And it is not limited up to the adults only. It has come so much into the kids because When you talk about the kids, we'll be talking further, like nowadays kids are so much like, exposed to these emotional factors, not only inside the home, but in outside environment. So I just want to emphasize on this, that this is having 5 different layers. The innermost gross one is the physical body, which is said to be the Annamaya Kosh. And outside that, we have the energy body as a Pranamaya Kosh. After that, we have emotional body as a Manomaya Kosh, then the mental body as Buddhimaya Kosh, and lastly, we have the spiritual body, or what we say as a Anandamaya Kosh.
I think this concept is so beautiful of the koshas, and a lot of research now has already proven, right, that the correlation of mind, body, and soul, and there's a direct correlation now. How we feel affects our physical health as well.
That's true. And first, we would like to talk about what kind of problems, like physical problem, kids are facing nowadays. Previously, we used to study that kids are more prone to the cough, the similar infection, like small, simple infection, bacterial, and that's how the vaccination thing came up. And then they started to having like a specific immunity against the deadly diseases of that time. And now it's one of the mandatory thing. Like in US, you can't get admission to the school if you show them this immunization card that your kid is. So this is the important. But this particular era, especially the last year, it has focused on that we have to broaden our spectrum. We have to move from specific to non-specific, because when the thing comes, they don't knock your door. It just come like that. Because right now the things are mostly confined to the specific immunity, and the specific immunity is something like it's like a closed room. Like if some new person is going to come to the room, so you're not prepared for that person. If that person is scary, you're going to be like, all upside down. But now we have to open our zone, because these physical conditions has broadened their spectrum, and now this is a high time for us to move and go back into the ages when the Ayurveda acharyas talk more about the non-specific thing, which is not limited to the disease, but also to the food factors. And we are in the era where the food we are having is adulterated. It is having a lot of the chemicals, a lot of the things which are habit forming, and we just keep on having one or the other thing. So we have to broaden our spectrum from the specific to the non-specific immunity. And this is what I want to highlight in terms of the physical health. And then we move to the emotional health. And nowadays, when you go and search, like the small kids are nowadays, exposed to so much of the factors like bullying, like, they have stress, depression. I have come across, like, because I was working on this, so I have met a number of kids in that. And when the kid comes to you, just the body language talks so much about them. They are scared. They don't want to open up so easily. It's not like the kids were earlier. They were so bubbly. They can talk to everyone. They can talk on anything. But this is not in today's world. Kids are very, very confined to themselves. The reason people give that, this is all because of the internet and the phone thing. They are like, introvert. They don't want to talk about. But this is not the scenario. You don't know when the kid is talking, it's always safe. But when the kid is not talking, you don't know what's going on in his mind. And the studies shows that kids are the good learner, but they are the bad in their interpretation. So we really do not understand. So in this slide, I just want to highlight that how much the kids are exposed to the things, right? So, and among this, I just want to emphasize on bullying in my next slide. Bullying is something like, this is so very common in America, and in India, this is there, but not up to the extent I have seen here. So here I want to stress that bullying or any of the emotional thing not only affects the physical condition of the body, but it has a huge impact on the emotional health of the kid. And the research shows that the personality of a person is almost formed when they are at the age of 2 to 5. And when something happens in this age or in the earlier days of their school, this will going to impact the rest of the whole life of that person and how it impacts their education, their profession. This is something why we are having so much of the stress clinics and the other management nowadays. So this is something we all have to be very careful as a parent, that we should always take care of the emotions of the kid and introduce them with the different emotions so that they should understand. Kids don't have that much vocabulary. So we need to tell them this is anger, this is heavy, now you are happy, so that they should know how to express themselves, because sometimes some incident happen to the kid and they don't able to conversate. I'll give you a very small incident. One of my friend called me up and she told me that from last few days her daughter is not like she used to play and do the things before. And I was like, okay. And she was like, she was never like that. Can you please suggest like what I can do? And I was like, you need to talk to your daughter, or you have to talk about something would have happened to her. That's why she is behaving differently. And she was like, no, she's always with me. Only the thing she goes to her preschool. And I was like, okay, then something must have happened, because kid never do the things like, for no reason. Kids are the, I would say the simplest form of the nature where you can see the cause and effect so clear. And when she digged into the matter deeply, and she found that, she was doing some she was little naughty. So her daughter was kept in one dark room by her teacher, and she got so scared in that. So because she was not able to tell that to her mama, she was behaving so differently. So, these small incidences, and I'm just talking about 2020. I'm not talking about like, it happens in 1900 or so. So you have to be very communicating with kids. And this slide, especially I put like, giving just the example related to this particular incident, that something happened to the kid and the solution come even today at this 21st century. The gap between the action and the cause is having the lap of 10 years, which is not less. And how it deeply affects that child, we can't even imagine that, because when you meet them as your subject in your practice, you find out deep down roots into their childhood. So it is really important to be communicative with your kid. In the previous slide, I talked about like different koshas and how these layers are there. And I just want to summarize all the, the need of the immunity at different levels by summarizing them into this term, so that you can understand, like, this is not only at physical level, how you can identify that it is intermingled with other bodies and they need help now. When we talk about the physical body, the Annamaya Kosh, it is all about the adulteration, the physical condition, the allergens, the radiation, the preservative. This is all the factors which affects their physical body. And when we talk about the energy body, it is affected by the external factors also and the internal factors. External is more about like unhygienic food, clothes, places, and when they are in a society, in the place where there is not the right words are used, so they affect the energy body of your child. And internal factors are most related to their unhealthy habits. And when we talk about the emotional body, the thoughts, the feeling, and the emotional of one person and the people of their surroundings is the one which is affecting the emotional body. Usually people say you should not fight in front of the kids because that gonna affect the kid. But the studies has shown that, it does not matter you fight or say foul words in front of your kids or in the other room, because these words have certain vibration, the wavelength, and wherever you move, they are going to move along with you. Whereas the good word has a very long wavelength in respect to these negative words. So they are always around you and it makes the energy of your home. So what you are doing is going to affect your kids emotionally. And this is what is affecting their emotional health.
That's very true. And just wanted to add, I was reading a research that when the newborn is born, they are already born with so many chemicals inside, right? Their bloodstream, because of the placenta from a mom that's being transfused or to the baby, because of, to your point, the adulteration in food and we are all stressed out, all those things come into play. And then we have all these things on, so many things that have, like ADHD, ADD, autism, so many new kind of things have gone up because of a lot of interrelated things.
That's true. And the thing starts, now we will start talking about the solution of all these things, because talking about problem is just a problem, but it starts solving when you talk about the solution. In Ayurveda, we don't only talk about the prevention or curating something, but in Ayurveda they talk about that actually when you talk about the immunity in kid, it actually start with the conception. So in Ayurveda and in today's this presentation, I have divided this into two categories. One is the prenatal thing, how you have to take care of yourself in the prenatal session so that the kid should have the good immunity. And then the postnatal, where you have to work on the kid to have the good immunity in them. In mothers, the immunity is usually, again, this is related to your foods, to your thoughts, to your activities you are doing. So you have to take a good care of the pregnant lady, because what she is eating is gonna help the baby to develop inside the womb. What the lady is thinking is gonna impact the kid, because they are not two, they are one. Like, this is the only time in a phase when there are two hearts beating inside one body. They are so interrelated to each other. Whatever mother is going to do, if she is taking the proper hydration, if she is having the healthy food, and above all, which is the most neglected thing, is the emotional state of the lady. Nobody take care of that. Now people are becoming so much aware. In the olden times, it is always said you have to keep the pregnant lady happy. She should be like, given everything what she asks. And in certain tradition, they celebrate this thing. And in Maharashtra, they say dohale. In like in other tradition, they say like, that when they do the seventh puja in the seventh month, where all the things are been, it's a baby shower nowadays. Basically, the objective behind that was to make the lady happy, so that that happiness also should travel to the baby along with the nutrients she is having. So here I just want to say, like, the thing, she should not be exposed to the junk food most. She should not do the over exercise. She should not be exposed to harsh chemical, because this will going to affect her and the upcoming baby. And this slide particularly shows like how the emotion of the pregnant lady affects the baby. The most important, I would say the most important gland in our body is hypothalamus. Hypothalamus is the one who is the master of master gland. It is the one who gives all the orders to the pituitary gland. And simultaneously, this hypothalamus is the one which is having all the emotion, the happiness, the anger, the envy, the jealousy. So these things are so much mixed. If the emotions, like as you were talking also, like how feelings are going to affect the body. So this is the scientific basis behind that these are not two things. This is just the one, not inside under the two different organ, but again, within one gland, these two things are together. So if you want to have the healthy body, you have to keep a very, very deep check on the emotions also. And now how we can actually cultivate the immunity in the kids. The first very thing which comes is the habits. We have to make our kids in such a way that the things they do should become the habit, and all the things should be related to their hygiene, the physical hygiene, the emotion hygiene, how to cleanse themselves, and the other things. And here the most important thing is, like, most of the time I used to hear, like, kid is not doing this thing, kid is not doing that thing. And as I talked earlier, like, kids are the smallest mirror, like, of the nature. Cause and effect is not at a length in them, and whatever they're going to see, they're going to intimate that. So if you are not having good habits by yourself, like you don't get up early in the morning, you don't like to bath regularly, so you cannot simply, like, teach them to the kids nowadays, and even earlier also, but nowadays, because of the awareness all over going, whatever you want to teach to your kids, you need to have all those things by yourself. Then it's not like you will only, like, it's not about preaching, it's all about doing, and kids will automatically do. So if you want to cultivate the good habits in kids, so you have to do all the things by yourself, so the kids will automatically have the habits, which is a good habit, and helping them to have a healthy and a happy life later on. Hunger is really, really, really very important thing, because when you open up the internet, YouTube or anything, you will see a lot of ads. I would say the 60% of the ads nowadays is focused on obesity, how to tackle it, how to treat it. You are doing emotional eating, like, so many things when you open the thing. But the right thing which we need to teach our kids is to eat when they are hungry. This is such a simple rule, but so effective. Like, if you're not eating when you are hungry, so that means you're not listening to yourself, you're not listening to your body. So just with the hunger, you can teach your kids to connect to themselves, to their emotions. Nowadays, when you come from the hospital, the first thing which is told to you when you have a newborn, that you have to feed the kid after every 2 hours. Just give me a second. And I have seen, this timely feeding continues later on also. And now you are feeding the kid with the time, after certain period, like, say about, I have seen in my kid, like 5 to 6, now he wants to be fed when he wants. I cannot feed him when, like, I want to make him feel like it's 2 hours, now you have to take something. I don't do that with my kid. And the only thing is, like, kids should be aware about this factor named as hunger, because this helps them to eat as per the quantity and as per their requirement. And definitely in kids, we have to see about the proportion, the veggies, the milk, the other nutrients should be very much balanced. And it is like easily accessible nowadays. Hydration. Why I have focused so much on hydration? Because, if you're not properly hydrated, there is study shows that there is higher level of anxiety and stress. When you are not hydrated properly, you don't feel good. Your body is not that active. The reason is like the majority of body is composed of water only, and it is said, like, almost 70 to 75% of our body is of water only. So I just want to highlight how the hydration is so important, especially in the growing kids, because this is going to nourish their body at the cellular level, because food takes time to get digested, but water is something like an instant energy, which, so why, if we are able to maintain the hydration in the kids, we are helping them to have their health at the stable phase. Now, from physical body, like, let's move to the other bodies, because when I'm talking about the diseases in terms of physical body, energy body, and emotional body, it is really important how we can do that. The exercise named as Superbrain Yoga is easily accessible on internet. This is so very awesome technique, and number of researches are also there on the net talking about the effect of this, because in the kid the energy level is really high, and if we do not, like, make them do like different things, they don't know what to do, and then the energy is so high they don't have anything to do. So sometimes, kids start with the abrupt activities, and then we think that, the kid don't know how to behave, but the thing is there is so much of the body inside, like, and if you see in this particular slide, there is particular position to hold your ears, and then this is a simple squat technique. And if you see the kid who just started how to stand, most of the time they are just bouncing, and this bouncing is nothing but the mini squats, and this is how, like, there is so much energy they have, and if we do not regulate that energy, that can be, like, convert into any of the form in whatsoever environment they are in. So here I would like to introduce the concept of the Superbrain Yoga, and there is detailed videos and scripts on the internet which you can easily find. But when the kids start doing this at the earlier ages, so somehow their ball energy is balanced, and then they can find a better harmony in their energy and in the physical body. Now, in this slide, like, I just want to highlight that, food is so much important when we talk about the immunity, because food is the one which is responsible for the growth of the body. And nowadays, like, we put so much effort on the other things, providing them with the different juices. Like, I'm talking about the packed one. I'm not talking about the naturally, which is formed by the natural things at your home. But here I just want to say, if you are keeping your food healthy, so there is no need to have a lot of things inside your body to have this immunity at the highest level. Now I want to introduce, like, a very, very special concept in Ayurveda, which is known as Swan Impression. This is described in Kashyap Samhita, which is the Samhita, which is for kids only. It's totally pediatric and totally dedicated to the kids. And when we talk about the Swan Impression, this is discussed under two headings. One, they have Jatkaram Sanskar. Jatkaram Sanskar is one among the 16 sanskaras in the Hindu tradition. And in journal, you can say in the beginning in India, there's a tradition when, the elderly person, they write like Om, or they touch the honey with the gold, with some gold ornament on their tongue. So this was the small thing, but actually it is the layman term for the Swan Impression, because in Kashyap Samhita it is talked in detail. And the second topic under which this is given is a Lehan. Lehan is one which comes in the Yukti Krit Bal and is discussed in detail in Kashyap Samhita. So this is comprised of gold, ghee, honey, and the Rasayan herbs. So you can say, like, in this, the gold particles are encapsulated by honey and ghee and the herbs. And this is basically done to induce the non-specific immunity in the kids. And the studies has shown, because people are working on this from number of years, and now so many studies are available on net also. So they work on the dendritic cell maturation in the nervous system, and they stimulate the T cell activation. So this is the one which is the non-specific Yuktikrit Bal, which is introduced at a very early age to enhance the immunity of the kids.
Yeah,
So there are some number of researches which is there in the slide.
Right, we need to wrap up, Dr. Aruna, pretty soon. So do you want to mention?
Yeah, so this is all like, the different studies which shows how the working of this Swan Impression is there. Next slide, please. And like few years back, I worked on this, and I came out with certain formulation to be in this particular pattern. And I chose the herbs depending upon the requirement of the kids. And gold is processed in a very, very special manner. And there are a number of activities which are there in the authentic Ayurveda, which has shown the result on kids, not only at the physical level, but the kids those who were so shy, those who were having the very low confidence. And this is a once in a month kind of dose. So we just give once in a month. And the herbs which I used in this is antioxidant, hepatoprotective, hypoglycemic. They work on the cognitive and the behavioral function of the young ones. They stimulate the power of self-expression. They reduce the fatigue and anxiety in the kids. And the gold we use in this is definitely the non-toxic certification certified one. So, like, just to wind up, like, in simple words, this is something I have seen is working on the physical health by increasing their immunity in terms of diseases. It is helping the kids to adapt themselves with the today's food, when we talk about the adulteration and other thing. So this non-specific immunity has shown the thing actually that we need nowadays immunity against the food rather than in terms of diseases. So in this particular slide, I just want to highlight, so this particular product, when I worked, was focused on this, which was enriched with number of affirmations, blessing, and prayers, because I believe when we treat the whole somebody, only then we can come up to the good health. And the Swan Impression is a great combination of immunity and intellect. Here, intellect doesn't mean only increasing the memory power, but intellect is the one which is the power of discernment, How to introduce this in your kid is again a different topic, but Swan Impression is a great combination of giving your kid immunity and intellect together in one thing. And just to summarize, nowadays we need to have a non-specific immunity. We need to have certain things which work on emotional body also, and not only the physical body. And nowadays, kids need much more than the supplements we give them, the Pedisure and the Complan and so many other stuff. So we need to have a great check on what we are giving to body. and how we are taking the proper care of their emotions. So with this, I just want to wind up by saying that kids are so much exposed to different factors nowadays. We have to take care of their physical body, energy body, emotional body, and rest of the two bodies are so clear that they don't happen to be in any kind of the disorders. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yeah. Well, I think amazing information, and I just want to add the concept of Swan Impression is very common in India, right? And it's not yet, at least not in US, that we have seen that right now. I do want to add that this presentation, what you're talking about, is the Swan Impression and all the other formulations are currently being used in India only, right? Not in US. Because US has its own laws of, having metal particles, and, you talked about the gold and all that stuff. It's not actually right now, that at least to my knowledge, I haven't seen that happen in US, but there are research studies that in India, the kids get this. Correct me if I'm wrong, right?
The thing is, yes, this concept is not there in US, but there are a number of study in the rest of the world, world, where they are talking about the gold, and especially this gold bhasam, because its nanoparticles are now being used in cancer, autoimmune disease, and so many other factors, because this is the only metal in the whole group which is non-reactive. It do not oxidize, so it works so awesomely in the body, and the body is also having 0.02% of gold inside the body. So I would say, the gold inside the body works like miracles, one cannot even think. And I'm just looking forward to all those things when it start opening to the whole world, and when they come out of this myth that every metal is not dangerous.
Yeah. No, I just do want to put a disclaimer out there for people who might watch this video. This is an educational video. Please don't treat it as a medical advice, and don't take Swan Impression
Definitely.
yourself, right? And this particular therapy that you, Dr. Aruna, is talking about is right now is being used in India most of the time. I don't know about the other rest of the world, and it's currently not being used in the US. But we are just bringing research. Our job as a platform is to show the research, what's happening all over the world, and please don't treat this as a medical advice. This is just an educational session. That's all, right?
Okay. This is what is mentioned in Ayurveda for kids.
Correct. We do want to add that this is what Ayurveda talks about, and we just want to show you that this is what Ayurveda talks about for kids' immune health. And there are studies that are being done right now in India, and in India it's quite common, the Swan Impression, but at least to my knowledge, I haven't seen it in US yet, right? I just wanted to make a disclaimer here, because I don't want people to think that, that we are trying to propagate or trying to
that's the reason I didn't talk much about, I'm just talking what is there in the authentic text. I haven't even mentioned on the research and other things.
Yes. Well, with that, thank you so much, Dr. Aruna, for really, I think it's a very sensitive, very important topic to talk about kids' immune health and how some natural therapies are available to boost their immunity. I think that's what we wanted to bring, and also we wanted to bring what is happening in other parts of the country, what they're using for their kids. That was the intention.
Yes, and thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you so much for listening and giving your precious time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. With that, we'd like to wrap up this session, and you are welcome to give us any feedback, and have a great weekend. Signing off, this is Amita from Nourish Talk. Bye-bye.